And let's talk about my New York Knickerbockers again. I can never stop talking about them. We won a championship. Let me have my moment, please. It's been 53 years. Jalen Brunson slams critics at the Knicks championship parade. Now I'm going to play that clip right now for the American people. And then we're going to answer this question. Should the Knicks finals run make us reevaluate what we call 1A, what we call elite? Let's run the clip.
A lot of people who have a lot of opinions, but when you prove them wrong, you really don't have to say shit to them. Nah, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Talk your shit, JB Smooth. Okay, because you're that dude. All right, not to be rude or get it misconstrued. You are that dude. You are him. But Lee, with that being said, I would say this: is it me or? And look, Jalen Brunson don't got to buy another meal in New York. He's very popular here. We call him the King of New York. But I feel like OG Anunoby might be the most popular New York Knickerbocker right now, personally, based on what I see. But Lee, I pass the mic over to you. Looking at Jalen Brunson's comments, should this run make people in media, whatever, pundits, wannabe media pundits, whatever, we evaluate what we call 1A, what we call a superstar? The mic is yours.
Yeah, first of all, very well said by Jalen Brunson. He doesn't owe the dignity to address people by name. They know who they are, right? They know who they are. He doesn't owe the dignity. Look, he can show that a championship trophy and that MVP trophy, something that some of those people that were saying could never earn, Lil. So kudos and hats off to Jalen Brunson. Look, I never bought that. I never bought the fact that he was too small because I watched him play. I mean, all that foolishness about he was too small to win a championship, that's foolishness. When he is, I always said SGA was the best finisher. I still think that. But hell, he's right up there with SGA, if not better. And so you're looking at, and the way the game is played now. The game is played. The little man is back. The game is played that way now. So for Becky Hammond and Draymond Green and all these idiots to say that stuff was foolish. Becky, you stick to the WNBA in Vegas and work out and try to figure out how to play Kennedy Carter. She knows what I'm talking about. And Draymond, how long are you going to live off of those championships, of which you average 8 points and 6 rebounds? I mean, you're an expert, and I'm not saying you didn't contribute, but let me say this about Draymond and making those comments. You saw it, so shut your mouth and quit acting like you were such a dominant figure in the championship runs for Golden State. It pisses me off when people say he's a Hall of Famer. Now, because he's really not. To Deion Sanders' point, we're giving away gold jackets now. We're giving it away, or at least it should be tiers. So all of those stupid comments about these people are making, hats off to Jalen Brunson for what he's done, proving them wrong, not by his words, Lil, but by his play, by him being clutch. So I don't know what 1A is. All I know is he's a champion. He's an MVP. You cannot take that away from him. And he showed on the grandest stage that he's a big-time NBA all-time player. Some of these people that are talking, to me, are just average players that lucked up into a good situation.
Definitely. Go tell it on the podcast. That's what Draymond Green does. He goes and tell it on the podcast, and it makes no sense at all. All right, it doesn't. Listen, I am a very good ad-libber, okay? I tell you, I don't pre-plan the shit that I be saying on the show. It just flows. Now, I mean, when you do what I do for a very long time, it flows. It just naturally comes like that.
I love it.
But, look, I say this, man. we have to reevaluate what we call elite. We have to reevaluate what we call 1A, because a lot of people, they attribute elite traits and elite players with elite traits, and there's a different thing.
Yep.
For example, look at the NFL for a prime example. Who could throw the ball the furthest, right? Quarterbacks that can run the fastest. We deem them to be elite because they have elite attributes, but they haven't won at the highest levels. They still barely can win a playoff game, okay? But yet we call them elite. Elite at what? Losing, okay? Just because they have the physical traits, but that doesn't associate to winning championships. At the, you look at the NBA draft, you look at the NFL draft, the NBA draft, he's too small. Okay, we look at little things like that. Oh, the NFL draft. Well, his hand size is small, so he can't throw the football, right? We do that, and then we get these chatty patties. Everything is scrutinized at the pre-draft process. It's like a humiliation ritual, right? And then you get past the humiliation ritual, they start getting fake reports on you and your character, and it's not only about only physical attributes. A lot of it is premeditated, created, manufactured, reports about you and your character and playing Call of Duty and whatnot, right? All these things pop up and whatnot. Oh, he should be a running back, instead of a quarterback, all those things pop up. But then you get these media pundits, these chatty patties like Becky Hammond, who doesn't know how to make ham. Okay, I'm just talking nonsense right now. Okay, but Becky Hammond, who's supposed to be somebody that knows the game of basketball at a very high level, is calling Jalen Brunson, saying that Jalen Brunson is not a 1A. Have you been watching basketball, really? Okay, Draymond Green, the go tell it on the podcast, even though it makes no sense at all, like my song, my hit that I just made, okay? Again, it doesn't make no sense at all. So for me, you have a guy in Jalen Brunson who's 6'2", right? Obviously, going up against a guy like Wemby who's 7'5". And the league, the NBA, is desperately trying to make the 7'5" Wembanyama the face of the NBA. He's not even American, but they're trying to make him the face of the NBA. He was getting call after call after call after call, calls that Jalen Brunson wasn't getting. That's how you know they're trying to make him the face of the league. But why? I get it. Wembanyama's a talent, a special talent. He's fun to watch. And yeah, there's a legitimate argument to be made. He should be one of the faces of the NBA. But when you have a guy like Jalen Brunson that led the Israelites to the promised land, that came to a franchise that sure made a step or two, right? Because we cannot underestimate what Julius Randle, contributed to this franchise, what Tom Thibodeau contributed to this franchise, right? We do got to give them credit here and salute to them. I want to make that clear on this mic right now. I didn't forget about Julius Randle and his contributions. I didn't forget about Tom Thibodeau and his contributions as well. I want to talk about Tom Thibodeau in the lead of that. But ever since Brunson came, he's took us to a significant step each season. In the 4-year span that Brunson has been in the playoffs, he scored 300 more playoff points than any other NBA player and became the second fastest guard in history to 2,000 postseason points after Steph Curry. Okay? And he's doing this on the biggest market in the NBA. Why is he not the face of the NBA?
Well, and that's that's it. See, the Wemby thing is his international appeal. That's why they want to make Wemby the face of the league, because how the NBA is trying to go very global. There are going to be some home games similar to what the NFL is doing in other countries. There are going to be regular season games played in other countries. So they're grasping at Wemby. And I'm not, like you say, I'm not against Wemby. He is a talented guy. But for what I saw, there's a lot more that he has to add to his game. So quit trying to
And Jalen Brunson was the finisher.
He's a finished product. Brunson is a finished product.
Yes,
and he's a product that you have to pay attention to. That, like you said, we're going to have to start calling him Moses now, because you said it. He led the Israelites to the promised land.
He sure did.
He's a finished product. And to your point, I need to see him on more commercials. I need to see him, selling more NBA merchandise, because for a guy his size, his body type, who looks more like the average guy on the street as opposed to a big hulkish NBA player, you have to tip your hat to this guy.
You know how much skill you have to be able to dominate the league in the fashion he's dominating in, with those lack of physical attributes that we attest to being elite. You know, like, he's a different breed. The elite footwork, the ability to create angles, get to his spot, take over the game in the fourth quarter. When in doubt, he came through in the fourth quarter. He did something that Wembanyama didn't do or was incapable of doing. He had his finishing move, his finishing shot. He knew what to do. He knew how to bring us home. In that game, in that closeout game, he put us on his back, and he took us to the promised land. He did what a star, what a 1A person is supposed to do. Okay? Now, he did something that Kyrie Irving didn't do, which is lead a team by himself as the guy. Okay? He won a championship as a sidekick. Okay? But he wanted his own team. He wasn't successful. Okay? James Harden wasn't successful. Damian Lillard wasn't successful. Luka Doncic, who was his teammate, who he was sidekick to in Dallas, wasn't successful. Got them close, but wasn't successful. So at the end of the day, there's going to be people right now that if you tell them, rapid fire, shoot me a top 10 players in the NBA right now, Jalen Brunson would even come up. And guys that would probably come up are guys that, let me see your fingers, no ring on it.
Yeah.
If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Yeah. Like Beyonce said. Guess what? JB did.
Yeah. No. Well said. Well said. Well, I'll put it this way: if I'm doing a top 10 list, he's going to be on there.
He got
everything you look for in a superstar, in a person that is considered elite, he has it, and he do it.
But again, we look at the elite traits. We'll pick a guy like Tatum over him. Not me. I'm not stupid. I know ball. But a lot of people will put a guy like Tatum over him because, you know, Tatum. And look, Tatum is a champion. He contributed. He had a lot of help, right? He had a lot of help to win that championship. But for years, he couldn't get over the hump. But, you know, talented player. I'm not going to, you know, trounce Tatum. Very good player, phenomenal player. But he's not better than Jalen Brunson.
Well, the Tatum comparison, you know, they're pros and cons on both sides, but let's look at.
They're going to put a lot of people. They're going to put.
Let's take Anthony Edwards right now. Yeah, he's talented. He's a great talent, but he hadn't led his team any place.
Yeah. And I like
he hadn't led his team any place. So when you're talking about ranking people, and it could be said that Minnesota had more raw pure talent than the Knicks.
Yeah.
And so, what have you done?
Oh, this was not a super team here by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Pretty much a lot of the guys on this starting lineup had some type of flaw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Some type of flaw. But we gave Jalen Brunson just enough of an ecosystem where we like, all right, Jalen Brunson, your main priority is to bring us home in the fourth quarter. Bring us home. We keep the game close. Bring us home. And he answered the bell every time. Every time. It didn't change in the playoffs than what it was in the regular season. He was doing it in the regular season. In the playoffs, same thing. He showed up. So at the end of the day, we need to stop the nonsense. Lee, somebody said something that I really thought was an interesting take, and I want to know your thoughts on it. They said that Tom Thibodeau is Moses and Mike Brown is Joshua. So for those of y'all who don't read y'all Bibles and don't know the comparison there, Moses is the one that freed the Israelites from Egypt, from bondage under Ramsey, okay? And he got them close to the promised land, which was right there. He already laid the foundation for them to cross over to the promised land. And Joshua, who was the next in command, took them over to the promised land. What's your thoughts about that? Do you find that statement to be accurate or not?
Well, look, first of all, I'm very impressed with your Bible references. I love that. I like how you brought religion on the show. Kudos to you. I love that. Moses is one of my favorite characters in the Bible. So, but no, I don't consider Tom Thibodeau Moses at all, because he didn't lead them to the mountaintop, which would have been the NBA Finals, and then Brown came and got them over the hump. He got them to wandering in the desert but they didn't get to the promised land. At least Moses got them to the promised land. God just said he wasn't going to take them over or wasn't going to go over with them. And so, no, I don't consider that he's a Moses character. I'll say this about Tibbs, though. He had a system that he believed in, Leo, that he felt would work. It was proven that it doesn't work. It was proven that way. You beat your players down too much because this is literally the same Knicks team. Mm-hmm. It's the same Knicks team. And with the tweaking of what Mike Brown did, playing different players, having the guts to use different combinations, it showed how he can evolve as a coach compared to what Tibbs did, who wouldn't do it. He stuck with a 7-man roster, and that was it, 8 at the most. And in the last game or game before that, Mike Brown played 12 people. So yep. I can't equate that to that comparison because I think Tibbs did a good job, but it was time for him to go. The Knicks would have never made the NBA Finals under Tibbs.
I agree. I personally agree. And this is coming from a guy who respects Tibbs. You know, I still respect his basketball mind. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he should be coaching. He should be a head coach somewhere. As somebody that believes that, I don't believe we win a championship with him. And I believe that Mike Brown played 50%, like maybe 60% of the reason why we won the championship. With his adjustments, with his adaptability and flexibility, that game 4 in particular, when we was down by how many points we was down by 29, playing Alvarado and Brunson on the floor together, just being very experimental. And this is why you experiment during the regular season, so you know what you got, right? Because what Thibodeau did last year when we fell to heartbreak against the Pacers was he waited till we was down 0-2 in that series to start emptying out the clip a little bit. And it was already too late. We was down 0-2. It was pretty much a last-second Hail Mary, and we ran out of time. We ran out of games to catch up. Mike Brown experimented throughout the regular season with different lineups. So when it came down to crunch time and having to make something shake when we were down, he was able to do so confidently, and it paid homage. It paid dividends. And that's what James Dolan saw when he said, you know what? Thank you, Tom Thibodeau, for getting us this far. But guess what? Mike Brown got the rest. We need to make a change. You're not the guy to take us to the mountaintop. And it took a lot of guts for somebody to recognize that. Because as an owner, a guy that we was telling for years, sell the team. He could have sat back and be like, Tom Thibodeau did something that we haven't accomplished since 1993, 94. I could just, kick back and let him run it back again. But he said, you know what? I actually want to win. And I do believe that Mike Brown is the guy to take us in. And look, it helps when you invest money into the team, right? Obviously, the expenses of putting this team together. So obviously, you want some type of payoff. You don't want to go into the second apron, and not be able to win a championship, with that, right? So obviously, salute to James Dolan there. Salute to Tom Thibodeau for his contributions to the team. But Mike Brown, he did an amazing job, and he got us to where we wanted to go, and so did JB. And that's why, in conclusion, he is that 1A.
Absolutely. I agree.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only The Real Lil on The Real Lil Show.